Hello, everyone. The global economy has been rapidly growing towards green and sustainable development. Given this enormous opportunity, Hong Kong has both the ambition of developing green technology and the most advanced financial services in the world. We want to talk today how to leverage Hong Kong's advantage like this for green finance. It's my honor to have the panelists here who have been in financial services for many years while expertising in different sectors. Hope we can hear their opinions in different angles. Before started, may I ask our panelists to give a 30 seconds introduction, such as your specialty, what are you doing now?
First of all, thank you for inviting me to the panel. In my last 20 years of industry experience, finance and technology has been the two themes. When I was in McKinsey, I served most financial institutions, the bank, insurance companies, and also technology companies. So it's really great to see the combination or the intersection of technology and finance. Now, a little bit about Digitory. We are a firm which focus on investment in the growth sector, mostly in the technology and related sector. Very importantly is we partner with a lot of local governments to look at the projects, also to look at how to grow the industry in the region. So I hope that in this discussion, I can also offer some perspective from the industry part and also a bit of insight on the financial institutions. Really looking forward to have the discussion with you all.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Sam Sun. It's a pleasure to be here, joined by many outstanding professionals. I came from a private equity background, so it's actually quite different from many of the people here. I specialize in global buyout of advanced manufacturing companies. So not so much from an early stage perspective, but more of a, how companies can develop after they've gone through that initial stage. But also, I am also an entrepreneur. Altovera is my second venture. About 20 years ago when I met Jeff, I was doing my first startup in the technology space. I thought I was going to become a venture capitalist, but look at me now. Altovera is a Latin word, deeper truth. I started this private equity firm, really looking to seek the deeper truth in the investment and also in the socio-economic regime. So happy to be here and looking forward to having a conversation with everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Pegasus, for inviting me here. My name is Stephen Chiu. I've been, when compared to Sam, I'm the last mile. I'm the investment banker through and through. So I'm trying to help the companies to achieve listing and then the subsequent fundraising. So I admire your visionaries there, but you can bring in the clients to me to get it listed. Yeah. China Galaxy is a state-owned enterprise in China, one of the largest brokers. I'm headquartered in Hong Kong, overseeing the overseas investment banking businesses, encompasses the ASEAN. We made an acquisition, acquired ASEAN securities called CIMB Securities. Thereby, currently, we are running business in China, Hong Kong, as well as the ASEAN. Later on, I can share more about the ASEAN visions. I'm the head of investment banking overseas, as well as I had an institute called Institute of Carbon Neutrality, which fits in quite well in this topic. Later on, when we're sharing the questions, then I can share more about that initiative with you. That's all. Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. This is Ted Lee. I'm the CEO of Wheeler Bank. Actually, I'm also the employer #1 of the WeLab Group. And WeLab Group basically run 4 businesses. One is the virtual bank in Hong Kong. The other one is the largest lending platform in Hong Kong. And we also have a lending business in China and also the other digital bank in Indonesia. So in total, we have more than 60 million of the user across these 4 geographical locations. Actually, I would like to take the chance to say thank you to Jeff for inviting me for this particular event. I enjoy it a lot because I actually see a lot of passion for a lot of different startups. Because WeLab 10 years ago, we also were a startup. We are a homegrown local fintech startup 10 years ago. And now, fortunately, we became an unicorn, and also we are one of the leading fintech company in Asia. And I look forward to have a lot of interesting discussion with the panelists because we are coming from slightly different background. We have people from investment field, and I can also add some of the view from the customer perspective because we are focusing on the consumer segment. Thank you.
Well, I'm Daniel. I'm running Innovation Lab and Tencent Games. We are serving as a contact window between the internet companies and hardware circle. So we test out ideas and we find the product opportunities. Okay, let's get started. So the first question is, how can Hong Kong attract investments and capital flows towards sustainable and green projects? Or in your view, how can Hong Kong leverage its role as a global financial hub to become a leader in green finance? Steve, maybe let's start from you.
Okay, I'll give a head start, and then you may chip in. As a banker, we fall in love in figures. So just give you some figures about the green finance. Green finance, broadly divided by any fundraising to help the green economy, thereby low carbon, environmental, ESG, and other things. I try not to read. Okay, it's the total green market. Roughly is around $2.36 trillion US. That's the market size. To put it into some perspective, the largest market cap company in Hong Kong, Tencent, is 400 billion US. Okay, and the entire market cap of Hong Kong market is 4.5. Okay, sorry, today it dropped a bit, but it's around there, 4.5 trillion US dollars. So the US bond market is much larger. The US stock market is 22 trillion. So to give you the perspective, relatively 4 trillion, 2.36 trillion is half of the market cap of Hong Kong, and also it's like 4 times of Tencent, sorry, and then 6 times, sorry, and then so this is the amount, still very small. So I think the green bond market is still grooming. So from the perspective broadly, I don't want to dwell into it further, is that I think Hong Kong being in a very special situation is that we are the international financial market, we all know, but we have a special national job, is that to promote green finance, to promote green, because our country has committed carbon neutrality in 2050. So towards that end, we have put heavy emphasis on promoting the green finance. So leveraging on our special position as one of part of China, as well as the only international financial centers within China. So I think we are very poised to leverage on all the tools we have, from the stock market to the financial market, as well as the derivatives markets, to promote green finance. I'll start with now first.
Well, I'm impressed with those figures. Janet, you want?
Okay, I don't have those numbers. Yeah, I want to comment on how Hong Kong can leverage its global financial center. I've been in international forum on philanthropy in Hong Kong a couple of months ago. I was quite impressed by the scope of the companies or organizations, even international governments, leaders that participate in the forum. So what I wanted to say is Hong Kong, I think, traditionally has already a great caring or goal for social or environmental causes, right? So green is not something very foreign to Hong Kong, actually. Of course, the question is how do we leverage from or evolve from pure philanthropical to actually economic and business model. My second comment on that is, in that forum, I saw a great debate between the model deployed by the East and the West. And Hong Kong is the perfect place. We will see that how things are done in the different roles. And then we bring it together, and through debate, through discussion, we come out and evolve. So I believe for green finance is also the case. If Hong Kong can leverage its international or its position as a hub of intersection between East and West, because there's going to be a different model, right? I'm sure my friends here will comment more. There's a different model by the West on looking at the green finance and how the East would look at the green finance. And Hong Kong is a perfect place to actually bring the best of the two roles, or have the two models collide and also sparkling new ideas and new expansions.
That's a good point. Sam, you want to add on?
Yeah, so before I talk about, the how can Hong Kong become a center for international green finance, I want to say that it is imperative for Hong Kong to try to become a center for the global green finance. It's not because everybody's talking about green finance right now. It's not because it's the hottest topic. It's not, right? It's been going on for a decade or longer. I think Hong Kong right now has to face the reality of where it is going in the next 10, 20 years. The advantages that it had before, some of it has changed, and some of it remain. And we must realize that today, that if Hong Kong doesn't innovate on itself, if Hong Kong doesn't face the new reality and do something different, Hong Kong is actually facing a well, I may be a little bit too strong, but existential crisis, right? So that, I think I want to lay that background to say, it is not just nice and good to talk about green finance. It's not just nice and good to, feel good. It's important for Hong Kong to find, new position, new ways to innovate. So how? Number one, I think some of the strengths that the leverage that Hong Kong had remains, right? Its close connection with mainland China, the close proximity, and also, China being a very aggressive in terms of, driving those initiatives, green initiatives, right? Hong Kong is well positioned to take advantage of that. Number two, Hong Kong is still a very significant international financial center. And that is also, very important because then Hong Kong can still be somewhat, in between China and then, the rest of the world global financial center, because China is still capital control, capital flow is still under the control, right? So Hong Kong can act as a free capital market on that perspective. I think number three is that, right now the opportunity still exists that you don't see a dominant global center for example, carbon exchanges, right? This has been talked about for what, over 15 years now? But we still don't have a dominant global center for carbon exchanges, right? China has their own, Europe has their own, US, et cetera. But Hong Kong as a free trade center can establish that, kind of, bypass all these kind of government's own protectionist or local incentives and provide something globally. I think that's number three, right? And number four, I think, Hong Kong, again, being in between, the US, the Europe, and China, can also leverage the differences in capital cost, right? Because right now you're seeing capital costs going up significantly in US and Europe, while capital costs in China remain low, right? And I'm sure sometime in the future you might see, the reverse or, something like that. So Hong Kong as, again, a city that's kind of connecting these different markets can leverage that discrepancy and to be, facilitate the efficient capital flow. So I think, there are a lot of things that Hong Kong can do to develop that.
Ted, you are actually running business here, so let me ask more specific.
So let me try to first talk about the advantage of Hong Kong being a leading or the leader of the green finance first, right? Hong Kong has two fantastic advantages. One, Hong Kong is naturally a gateway to China. So basically, for a lot of mainland Chinese company, they would like to tap the funding in Hong Kong to fund their climate change project. It's naturally happening. And that actually, if you try to look at the number, say for example, the green debt issued in Hong Kong, compared to 2022 versus 2023, it's increased by 40%. And if you look at the whole Asia, it accounts for 1/3 of the total green debt issued in Asia, just based on the number in Hong Kong. So Hong Kong is having a very good advantage on this. So the second thing is, it's the first mover advantage. If you look at the regulator in Hong Kong, including HKMA or the SFC, they have been working on a regulatory framework to help bank and also financial firms to develop sustainable financing. And that actually happened a couple of years ago. So that first mover advantage helped us to position ourselves even better in the coming forward. So that is the first part, right? So that's the advantage of Hong Kong. But that's not enough. If we want to maintain the leading position, we need to do more than that. And to me, I always feel like we always need to get people to understand more about green finance, right? If I try to ask all of the people here, do you really understand what green finance means? I think a lot of people, they would generally feel like it's just more about the bank or the financial firm. They are trying to just lend the company to any particular company to just work on like a green-related project. That's all. But that should not be like that, right? So think about as a virtual bank or as a retail bank, what we can do is we can do a lot more. We can also try to collaborate with, like, say, for example, government. We issue the green bond and try to make the product and the information much more accessible. Because at the end of the day, we need to explain the spirit of why green finance is important. And also we need to create a scenario that people can always access the product in a much more efficient and more convenient way. So that's how we see about that.
Great. We just talk about the advantages and motivations. Let's talk more on the business side. So what opportunity exists for Hong Kong to develop innovative financial products and services that supports green initiatives? Steve, maybe start from you again.
Okay. Yeah, I think what Ted mentioned is very true. None of us, including myself, can claim to know what truly green finance is. I think other than the conventional green bonds and green loans or the green companies going equity financing, I see one of the breakthrough will be like what Sam suggested, carbon trading. Yeah, may I spend a few minutes on explaining what carbon trading is in case people are as ignorant as I am. So carbon credits are created when an entity helps to reduce or remove carbon emission. So thereby they create the credits, and who is going to buy them is the high emission industries, like the power generators, the transportation sector, and the industrial sector like iron and steel or cement industry. So the reason why they buy that is that so that the net emission will come down. It is one of the policies set up, including in many countries, in particular in Europe and in China. So they require you to have to lower your net carbon emission. So that's where the carbon credits come from. So the carbon trading is it provides a marketplace for the carbon credits to be traded. It has been years for the carbon credits to be traded in Europe. It's a very established system, an entirely but similar system to our current capital market. Whereas they have the stock exchange, they have the settlement, they have the so-called auditors, so they can verify they can certificate the carbon credits, as well as they have derivatives, they have futures, they have options on carbon credits. There's a very established marketplace. Whereas on the other hand, we see China, they are already establishing several local carbon credit exchange. The largest, the national one is in Shanghai. So I think as a banker, we believe in economy. We believe in Adam Smith. So I think nothing is better than profit to drive people's interests. So that's why this is sheer demand and supply. There's a demand for the carbon credits. There's a supply for the carbon credit. It can be traded. It's a perfect Econ 101 if everybody still remember. Yeah, it's the sheer market force to drive the interest to build up the market. So instead of just the government providing subsidies, providing all these incentive schemes, I let the market drive the demand. So there's a drive because you need the carbon. You need the carbon to neutralize your emission. And then when the carbon credits becomes so expensive, you have to try to lower your emission yourself. At the same time, you see the carbon credits, the price has been going up, so you have more incentive to generate carbon credits. So that's the whole ecosystem works. It's still in its primitive stage. I strongly believe in that. Just giving them time, and then I think gradually the carbon credits will become something, will be another system that will ultimately using the market force to help the globe being greener.
Okay, Janet.
Maybe from definitely the opportunity, I think quite a few has mentioned is the proximity with the mainland. Because digitally we work with a lot of local governments in mainland. Green is a big thing in mainland China now, right? There's the KPI or the agenda about carbon neutrality and etc. So there are quite a lot of projects, both in the industry, for example, renewable energy, right, green energy. But there's also projects in such as tourism, but with a great sense of preserving the forest or preserving the nature. From the mainland Chinese local governments, they know that Hong Kong is known for the breadth and the richness of the financial products. Right? If we compare the financial structure or institution of mainland China and Hong Kong, is clearly Hong Kong is way ahead in terms of how to structure a product, what are the different channels and the different vehicles. Those are definitely not in mainland China. So quite a lot of local governments I work for, they are like, can we actually get to Hong Kong, right? Can we get the help with the Hong Kong financial institution to looking at the financing of my projects? Because those projects are one, economically have a good cash flow, and it's really justified if you're looking at the number-wise. But the financing structure or the financing vehicle in mainland China is very rudimentary, right? They know that Hong Kong can actually offer more, but there's lack of information. There's also a little bit of lack of access because they don't know how to actually approach the banks. It's such a new thing. So that is a great opportunity that is already waiting there to be tapped. But it would require the financial institutions or finance sector in Hong Kong to leap forward a little bit, one step further. Right. Instead of just waiting passively for people to come to them and traditionally do whatever the structure that they have done before, right? If Hong Kong has been able to do that, then there's I would say the opportunities, the source of projects, the economics, they will all work out.
Sam, many regions have got experience in their practice of supporting sustainable projects. In your investment, you may come across various successful cases. Would you like to share some?
Yeah, sure. I think, just to kind of give you guys a little bit background, when we talk about green finance, there's a broader definition of a narrow definition. And in the business that I've invested in, I do not consider myself a green finance guy. I'm just a regular investment guy. But a lot of the things that we invested in are related to it. It's kind of hard not to think about it in the past 10 years or so. So I've invested in a few businesses that are relevant, right? Number one, there's a automotive weight reduction company, and they make automotive components, but they've made it in an innovative way that they're able to reduce the weight significantly, and therefore, will consume less fuel. There's another one that is actually a regular business services company. They do a lot of the, kind of filing of your paperwork and stuff like that. But what they have specialized in is ESG compliance, right? This is actually, I wanted to say that in addition to, because I was going to talk about carbon exchange, but luckily I have something in the back of my pocket. I think that, I want to talk about, like, for Hong Kong, this is a place where it's known for professionalism. It is known for professional integrity, professional capabilities, and professional independence. And in order to build a globally recognized exchange, you need a globally recognized professional service organizations to support that, right? To audit, to consult, to set the rules and things like that. So one of the other companies I've invested in is a company that will go to companies and audit their operations, and they will say, okay, this is kind of how much of the energy you're consuming, how much carbon you're putting out based on your setup, and these are the things that if you do, these are the carbon credits you can get, and et cetera, et cetera. I think in Hong Kong, we should also build that, right? And once you build that, coupled with your local kind of the credibility you've already had with the local talent of professionals, service providers, that you can really add value or provide a difference. So government policies, I think for Hong Kong, like I kind of said earlier, the government needs to be very proactive in terms of pushing this through, right? To say, look, we're going to establish some kind of government guidelines, standards that are put forth by the professional organizations that will ensure the fairness, the professionalism, the openness of all these things, and we're going to stick to it, and you can trust us on that. I think that's number one. Number two, incentives on taxes or R&D and things like that. The automotive company, was a Canadian headquartered company, but it benefited from the global government initiatives to limit fuel consumption, right? Or to increase the fuel efficiency in every nation almost. So their business was brisk. I think that is another thing, right? I think for Hong Kong, we were joking about it earlier, the Hong Kong government needs to turn up the thermostat, right? Increase the AC temperature by 3 degrees. You don't know, right? Kind of things like that would really, jokes aside, would really help drive a lot of the market initiatives to take this to the next level, right? All the government has to do is to give us some kind of standard, some kind of, incentive, and some kind of a guideline, and the rest of, like you said, the free market would take care of itself.
Speaking of incentives, Ted, how can we in that back help to incentivize customers here to make green choice?
So it's a very quick question. Let me share a couple of examples. And good that I'm not planning to talk about carbon exchange, because at a retail level, it's hard for us to just exchange carbon credit, right? So a couple of examples I can share is, the first one is for WeLab Bank, we partnered with Tesla. So we try to offer a financing to Tesla customer to, with a very low interest rate, so to help them to promote EV in Hong Kong as a market, right? In probably less than 12 months of time, we helped Tesla to finance more than 2,000 of Tesla. And that actually made the city to be more green. But more than that, because if it's just like a car financing, it's pretty boring, right? What we are doing with them is we try to create like a combo. So on one hand, we help them to, we help the customer to finance their EV, and to the customer, they can keep the spare cash, right? So we also introduce a fee waiver for them if they want to invest into ESG-related fund as a wealth management solution, right? So by doing that, then people will start to think about, okay, now I change my car, or I purchase a car. I want to be more environmental friendly, but at the same time, I also can do more by investing into ESG-related theme. So that's actually is the way to using an innovative combo to encourage the customer to pick more green choice. And the other example I think is pretty interesting. And for most of the time, a lot of people feel like green may be not something super exciting. And some of the people will also agree that banking is so boring. But actually, it's not the case. If you are able to make use of the technology, you can create a very, very interesting experience. Say, for example, we can create like a carbon footprint calculator. And that calculator based on all of your purchasing behavior. Because we, as a bank, we know all of your purchasing behavior. Whether you go to like a vegetarian restaurant or a steakhouse, or how many petrol you use, or you take public transportation, or you always take taxi, we have all of the information. And then we calculate your carbon footprint. And based on the carbon footprint, we'll be able to reward you by a higher or lower interest rate, or like a spend rebate. And by doing that, it's much more fun, and we gamify the experience. And that's also one of the ways we embed the mindset to the customer and then get them to go even greener. That's actually is one of the even better way to just keep talking about green is the best thing, because people at the end of the day, they will feel like that will become like a greenwashing if we don't really come up with example and practical use case. So that's how we think about that.
Sounds like there is a lot of space to play with financial products even. My last question is, what are the challenges and barriers that need to be addressed for the successful implementation of green finance? Since it's new, I know there are many. So let's just briefly talk about one you think most important. Steve, let's go to you.
I think it's education, it's the awareness. As Ted said, it's easy to greenwashing. You can put a green name and then and you feel good and you feel you are gratified, but actually no. You need to learn from heart to heart. So that's why our company has set up the Institute for Carbon Neutrality to promote, to join it. Like what Sam said, we need to have a group of professionals. We need to have a group of institutions to commit to make sense of it, including Hong Kong Exchange. So we have had a constant discussion with Core Climate, which is the marketplace for Hong Kong Stock Exchange, to promote carbon trading. Sorry, that's enough for carbon trading, okay. But at the same time, for the green projects, I think we need to put more perspective on the education and market awareness side. This involves, as Ted said, the government has done as much. It is our turn, how to collaborate and to make it real.
Let's go to Janet.
I won't call them challenges, probably just some observations. We talk about Tesla, right? But if you look at the car market share in Hong Kong, what's the penetration of electric vehicles? Very low. It's increasing. So there are, of course, a lot of reasons, right? One is infrastructure. It's such a mature city. And we know charging has to be in place, the infrastructure, in order for e-cars. But Hong Kong is so dense, and how are you going to have all those, where the space to put all those charging stations, etc.? So what I'm getting is an observation that although we talk a lot about green financing and there's a new opportunity to establish a leadership for Hong Kong, the Hong Kong city so far doesn't strike me as some cities that really advocate for green. Like for example, consumer is such a consumer market here, but we know that in other places, just an example, right? Amazon has already really put incentive to their merchants if they are having green productions or they use materials that are green, etc., etc. But do we actually see the merchants here in Hong Kong or really promoting that and advocating that? Not yet. So green finance, both words are important. Financing part is important. We talk about opportunities, economics, makes sense, and right, there's different ways, but green is also important. So it's just an observation that if Hong Kong want to put themselves as a leader of green finance, maybe we should start with awareness of Hong Kong be a green city.
Sam, you want to add on?
Yeah, so when I do my investments, I have several rules of like investments that I won't make. One of them is I won't invest in anything that relies on government subsidy. So this is my caution that the government can be a little bit overzealous and say, hey, I'm going to come out with subsidies and things like that. The issue with that is, number one, it's going to cost the government a lot, and ultimately at some point they will have to par back that subsidy, like EV subsidies. 15 years ago, the PV, solar, voltaic, right, photovoltaic subsidies, and things like that. And when you you par back those subsidies, market actually goes into some kind of a shock, and companies go bankrupt and things like that. I'd rather see government putting out incentives for companies to do better and compete more efficiently than to come up with subsidies to say, hey, look, if you do something that can fit in some kind of a green criteria, I will give you $1 for it, right? Ultimately, I don't think those kind of things work out at the end because a lot of companies will take the subsidies for the first few years and disappear.
So from my perspective, I would like to share two challenges, but the first one I will try to cut it short. But generally speaking, I think in Hong Kong as a market, I don't know whether in other different places, whether they are the same or not, but generally there is a misconcept there. So basically for people, they will have the perception that investing into ESG means that they sacrifice the return. So that's the misconcept. I don't know why that happened, but that is actually embedded in a lot of different mindset. So on that, we probably will need to change that and fix that. But I think the second challenge is more important is we are lacking of a standardized way to measure the ESG level of any particular company. So think about that. I see a lot of new technological solutions trying to give a ranking or a score for a company to determine their ESG level. For the same company, I saw a solution A will give them like a weighting 8, but the other one probably will give them a weighting F. So the variance can be huge. And because of the definition, there is no standardized approach on that one and always create an inconsistency. And at the end of the day, that inconsistency will create confusion as well. And then people will feel like if you don't have a proper way to define that, then how can I believe that is something that I should really trust? So that's actually one of the challenges. I think sooner or later, if there's an important topic and there's an important initiative globally, we probably should move to a stage that there should be some basic standardized approach to measure the ESG level for each of the company and also each of the industry as well.
Even with these challenges, I think I can summarize. For green finance, there is not a leading city in the world right now. So there is unparalleled opportunity for Hong Kong to compete for this role. I want to thank all the panelists for joining us and giving a fantastic discussion today. Let's give them a round of applause.